I don't really know how to start this without sounding like I'm exaggerating. But what happened to me? It unraveled fast. One sentence. That's all it took. One smug, cold sentence from the woman I built my world around. I have a date. She said it like it was normal, like she had just told me she was going to get her nails done. We've been married for 11 years. 11. We met in college. Built a life, a house, a routine. I thought we were stable, not perfect, but still standing. I didn't realize until that moment that she had been silently hammering at the foundation for years while smiling at me every morning. Started like any other Thursday night. She came home later than usual, said she had a networking dinner, which she claimed would help with her promotion. I didn't think much of it. She worked in corporate strategy. Long hours and social climbing came with the territory. I trusted her. She always made a point of telling me where she'd be, sending photos from dinners with colleagues, little check-in texts. In hindsight, they were decoys, well-crafted lies to keep suspicion away. But that night, she changed. She walked in wearing something she hadn't worn in years. A slim black dress that hugged her like it had been tailored that morning. Red lipstick, perfume I didn't recognize. It wasn't just the look. It was the energy, confidence, arrogance. Couldn't place it. I asked her, "Big client tonight?" That's when she turned. She looked me straight in the eyes, smirked, not smiled, smirked, and said it. "I have a date." For a moment, I didn't react. My brain fumbled with the words like they were in a language I didn't know. Then I laughed. Genuinely laughed. It wasn't planned. It wasn't strategic. It just came out because the woman I made dinner for last night, the woman who kissed my forehead goodbye this morning, had just casually admitted to cheating, and she expected me to break down. No. Instead, I asked, "Do you want me to pack you an overnight bag? Or will you just wear that dress again tomorrow?" She froze. The smirk slipped for the first time. I could see something flicker behind her eyes. Confusion, maybe panic. But I didn't stop. I stood up, walked past her, and calmly placed her favorite travel bag on the counter. Then I opened her phone. Yes, I had the passcode. Of course, I did. We had nothing to hide, or so I thought. But she had gotten lazy. No hidden apps. No alternate accounts. Just open text threads with a guy named Aaron Marketing. I read messages that made my spine crawl. Voice notes, photos, plans. It had been going on for over 6 months. And here's the part that gets darker. It wasn't just one guy. That was just the current one. In her archive folder, I found more, one in finance, one from her gym, one from a past work conference. I was married to a woman who didn't cheat. She maintained a rotation. So I made a choice. That night, as she stood speechless by the door in her little black dress, I said calmly, "Go enjoy your date. And don't worry, you won't have to lie when you say you're staying somewhere else tonight. This won't be your home anymore." She stammered something. I don't even remember what. I think she thought I was bluffing, that I was having a reaction. But I wasn't. I had just realized my wife was a stranger who used to love me. And by the time she walked out the door, I had already transferred every shared bank account out of her reach. She must have expected a scene. Maybe she thought I'd scream, cry, block the door, or pathetically ask why him. But I didn't, because I already knew who Aaron was. What she didn't realize was that 3 weeks earlier, her little affair started unraveling by accident. I borrowed her laptop to check a flight confirmation. She was flying to Chicago for what she said was a Women in Leadership Summit. And that's when I noticed it. A Google Maps pin saved under Aaron's loft, just casually sitting in her history, synced across her devices. I clicked on it. A luxury apartment downtown, not even near her conference hotel. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't say a word. Instead, I made copies of everything. Screenshots, bookings, photos from her iCloud. She never logged out. I watched her live a double life right in front of me while I waited for the right moment to strike. The moment she thought she was in control. So when she finally said, "I have a date," I wasn't shocked. I was ready. The second she left, I called my brother, Mark. He's a lawyer. By midnight, divorce papers were already being prepped. I had full documentation. I had legal standing. I had proof of ongoing adultery, financial fraud, She used our joint card to book hotel rooms and emotional abandonment. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom, but I wasn't going to give her a single dollar more than she deserved, which was nothing. In the morning, I did something she didn't expect. I sent her flowers. Yes, flowers. With a card that read, "You looked stunning last night. Just wanted to say thank you for making this so easy. My attorney will be in touch." Within an hour, she called. I didn't answer. Then came the messages. "Jason, what the hell is this? Are you being serious right now? You said you were okay with me going out." I stared at those texts and laughed again. Not because they were funny, but because they were sad. She had lived in such a twisted version of our marriage that she truly believed I'd tolerate open infidelity just to keep the peace. She thought I'd be afraid to lose her, but I wasn't losing her. I was losing a lie. By the weekend, her Aaron reached out to me. Yeah. He texted me. I guess she didn't tell him I existed. Or maybe she claimed we were separated. His message was short but insane. "Hey man, sorry if things got weird. I didn't know she was still married. We didn't mean for it to get serious." That's when I realized something even more brutal. She told each of them a different story. One guy thought she was divorced. Another thought she was trapped in a loveless marriage. Aaron thought she was just having fun and technically separated. She wasn't cheating on me. She was cheating on everyone. So I responded, "No hard feelings. You're not the first. Check her LinkedIn. Scroll down to the finance conference in Atlanta. The guy in the group photo next to her? Ask him what he remembers." Then I blocked him. By Monday, she was back at the house. She didn't knock. She barged in like she still lived there, but she stopped in her tracks when she saw the boxes. All her things labeled, sealed, ready to be moved. She walked slowly into the living room and stared at me like she was trying to read some part of me she no longer recognized. "Jason," she said, voice low, "can we talk, please?" I didn't say a word. I just pointed to the envelope on the counter. It had one word written across the front: choice. Inside was a letter explaining that she could either agree to a clean, quiet divorce, no court, no drama, or we could go public. I had every message, every hotel receipt, and even a few videos she didn't realize had been saved to the cloud. I gave her a choice, but she already made the first one when she chose someone else's bed. She reached for the envelope with shaking hands, and that's when her phone buzzed on the table. It was another message from someone named Darren. The sound of that notification echoed in the kitchen like a gunshot. She jumped. I didn't. I just looked at her phone, sitting face up, with the name Darren lighting up the screen like a spotlight on stage. For a moment, neither of us moved. She lunged for it too late. I had already seen enough. "Darren," I said calmly. "That's a new one." She looked pale, cornered. Her mouth opened, but no words came. That's when I realized she wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was just terrified that her web of lies had finally tangled into something even she couldn't control anymore. "Jason, that's someone from work," she stammered. "It's not what you think." I didn't answer. I just held her phone out to her and said, "Unlock it." Her hands stayed at her sides. I repeated it slower this time. "Unlock the phone." She hesitated for a beat, then gave in. Her fingers shook as she typed the code. As soon as it opened, I swiped up and opened the messages with Darren. There it was. Flirting, photos, hotel reservations. But the worst part, the message from just 2 hours ago: "I booked the room for tonight. I'll have champagne waiting. I want to see that red dress again." The same red dress she had worn last Thursday when she said she had a date that night with Aaron. A lie. She had lined up another man right behind him. This wasn't infidelity. This was a hobby for her. She reached out, trying to grab the phone back, saying something desperate, some half-baked excuse about how she felt neglected, how I had been emotionally distant, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was already walking away. I left the phone on the kitchen island. Screen still lit up, Darren's message staring at her like a spotlight she couldn't escape. She followed me into the hallway. "Jason, please stop." I turned and faced her. "No," I said quietly. "You don't get to beg now. Not after what I found." Not after Aaron, not after Darren, not after the man from Chicago or Atlanta or the gym or the guy who sent you those concert tickets. You built an entire second life behind my back. She started crying then. Real ugly crying. But I felt nothing. I had cried already. I had bled already. She just hadn't seen it. Now it was her turn. That night, I booked myself a suite downtown. I needed space, not to cool off, but to rebuild the wall she tore down brick by brick. I didn't tell her where I went. I just left the house, locked the door, and turned my phone off. By morning, she had sent over 30 messages. I can't lose you. Please don't do this. You were everything to me. It didn't mean anything. Lies stacked on top of lies. She thought if she buried me in words, I'd forget the weight of her actions. But what she didn't know is that I had already met someone. Not in a romantic way, but someone who had reached out to me. His name was Nick. Nick was the ex-husband of a woman named Rachel, someone my wife worked with. And Rachel was one of the names I had found in my wife's texts. Not a man, a woman. Rachel had helped her plan dates, lie, cover for her, make excuses. Nick found out the same way I did, by accident. He found receipts in his wife's purse for a dinner she didn't attend. Then he found texts, the same names, the same Aaron, the same Darren. Turns out my wife wasn't just cheating. She was part of a network of married women covering for each other, enabling each other's affairs like some kind of betrayal support group. Nick and I met at a bar. He was 3 years past his divorce. He bought me a drink and told me something I won't forget. "She's not the woman you married," he said. "She's the woman she became when no one was watching." He was right, and I knew what I had to do next. Nick wasn't just another betrayed husband. He was a mirror. Everything I was feeling, the betrayal, the hollow confusion, the pressure in your chest when you realize someone you loved was living a secret life, he had been through it all. But what really struck me was how calm he was about it. Not bitter, not broken, just clear. We sat in that bar for over 3 hours. Every name he mentioned, I recognized. Every detail, every timeline, it all lined up with what I had found in her messages. It was like someone handing me a map of the war I had just been dropped into. "She used Rachel as a cover?" I asked. He nodded. "They all do. It's like a circle of deception. Your wife used Rachel. Rachel used your wife. Another one used them both. You weren't married to a person, man. You were married to a system. A system." That word hit me like a freight train because now I started seeing it all in reverse. The random overnight trips, the last-minute networking dinners. The gym sessions where she came back too fresh, too glowing. The way she suddenly got her hair done before women's retreats. The way she stopped inviting me to company parties. It wasn't sloppiness. It was strategy, planned chaos. But Nick had gone a step further than I had. He had tracked down the guy who blew up Rachel's affair, and in doing so, he uncovered a burner group chat. That's right, a separate chat on a hidden app where these women coordinated cover stories, booked rooms under fake names, and helped one another avoid being tracked. They even exchanged tips for hiding affairs from iPhone activity logs. My wife wasn't just disloyal. She was organized, professional. Nick slid his phone across the table and showed me screenshots. There she was, my wife, laughing in group chats with names like The Escape Room and Weekend Warriors. There were coded phrases, emojis, inside jokes. She even posted a photo of me once, asleep on the couch with the caption, "He thinks I'm on a Zoom call, face with tears of joy." I swear something in me cracked in that moment. It wasn't just that she cheated. It wasn't just the lies. It was that I had become entertainment. A prop in a play she performed for her friends. I was the background noise in her double life. I left the bar that night with 2 things. A flash drive of evidence Nick gave me and a level of clarity I hadn't felt in months. I drove home not to argue, not to fight, but to end this on my terms. When I walked through the door, she was in the kitchen staring at her phone. She looked up, startled. Her eyes were red. I could tell she hadn't slept. "I thought you left for good," she said, like I was supposed to be touched. "I did," I answered. "I just came back to take care of something." I went straight to the bedroom, opened the safe, and pulled out a stack of envelopes. Legal documents, financial statements, her burner credit card bills that I had pulled from our cloud storage. I laid everything on the dining table. She walked in behind me, silent. "Read," I said. "Take your time." And I left the room. When I came back 20 minutes later, she was shaking. "Jason, what is this?" "That's every lie," I said. "Every night you said you were tired. Every morning you said you had an early meeting. Every time I told myself I was being paranoid. That's all of it." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Stop," I cut in. "You didn't trip and fall into 6 affairs. You didn't accidentally book hotels under fake names. You didn't mistakenly laugh at me with your friends while I slept on the couch waiting for you. This didn't happen. You built it." She tried to speak again, but I wasn't listening. I pulled out one final envelope. "What's that?" she asked. "Your job's HR director," I said. "It's a timeline of your trips and expenses charged to the company while you were sleeping with your coworker. You might want to call a lawyer." Her face went white. I leaned in and said, "I'm not just divorcing you. I'm erasing you. You're not going to humiliate me and keep your world intact. You made this mess. Now drown in it." And I walked out again. But this time I wasn't the only one leaving. She was about to get a phone call from her company, from her mother, and from someone she had truly underestimated. Rachel. Because I had just sent Rachel everything, too. The moment I hit send, I knew the next few days would unfold like a slow-motion car crash. Rachel wasn't just some office friend of my wife's. She was the ringleader, or at least the one most tangled up in the web. If there was a queen bee in this network of betrayal, it was her. And I had just lit a fuse under her entire world. By noon the next day, my wife's phone started ringing nonstop. I didn't answer her texts. I didn't look at her missed calls. But I did watch from a distance as everything she built, the lies, the performances, the fake sisterhood, began to collapse in on itself. Rachel called my wife at least 6 times in a row. Then her husband, Nick, called me. "Dude," he said, low and almost winded. "She just found out." I waited. "She's gone ballistic. She screamed at me for talking to you. Then she saw the screenshots you sent. And now she's threatening to go after everyone involved." "Let her," I said. "She helped destroy my marriage. Now she can watch her own fall apart." He sighed. "You sure you want to play it like this?" "Nick," I replied, "I'm not playing anymore." Later that afternoon, I received a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was short, cold, from Rachel herself. "You think you're smart? You just ruin lives." I replied, "I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped pretending." That night, my wife came by the place I was staying. She didn't knock. She buzzed from the front entrance like some visitor. I didn't want to let her in, but I needed to see how far she'd fallen. So I did. When the elevator opened, I almost didn't recognize her. No makeup, eyes swollen, hair a mess. Not the perfect corporate version of herself she always polished up before walking into boardrooms or bars with her lovers. Just her raw, exposed, the version she never let me see anymore. She stepped into the living room slowly, like it wasn't her place to be anymore, because it wasn't. "I lost everything," she whispered. "Rachel told HR. They suspended me. My inbox is frozen. Legal is involved." "Jason, No," I said, interrupting before she could launch into another scripted sob story. "You lost nothing I didn't already know you didn't value." She stared at me for a moment, and then, something I wasn't expecting. Anger. "You think you're better than me?" she snapped. "You think just because you caught us?" "Us," I said, eyebrows raised. "There's no us. There's you and the half-dozen people you've been playing while smiling in their faces. Including me, including your boss, including Rachel. You built this fallout. Now own it." She stepped back. "You wanted to humiliate me." "No," I said, standing slowly. "I wanted you to look in a mirror without makeup. And I wanted you to finally see what the rest of us had to pretend we didn't see for years." She sat on the armrest of the chair like her legs had given out. "What now?" she asked. "What do you want from me?" "I want nothing," I said. But your company wants explanations, your friends want distance, your mom called me asking what the hell happened. And your gym trainer just texted me asking if it's true. She looked up sharply. Wait, Travis? Yep, I said. Funny thing, he was apparently shocked to learn you weren't actually single. Seems like even the guy you did squats for thought he had exclusivity. I don't know what broke her more, the coldness in my voice or the fact that her fantasy life was bleeding into the real one so violently she couldn't keep the boundaries anymore. But the final blow? I pulled out my phone and played her a voice memo. It was from Aaron. Yeah, the first one, the date guy. He found out the truth after I told him everything, after I sent him the full archive of texts, after I explained how he was just a brick in a wall of betrayal. And he sent me this, Jason, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. And if it helps, I ended it. She lied to me, too. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I just wanted you to know you weren't crazy. I let her listen to the whole thing. When it ended, I said, that's the difference between you and everyone else you used. They walked away. You kept building the lie until there was nothing under your feet. She didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I pointed at the door and she left. But this time, I knew she wouldn't bounce back because the mask had finally fallen. And underneath, it wasn't a misunderstood woman who wanted to feel alive again. Underneath was someone who had hollowed herself out in the name of fun and didn't even realize she was empty until the echo came back. I didn't plan on hiring someone. At first, I thought I had seen everything, but the more I uncovered, the more I realized how much of her life had been scripted, staged for my benefit while the truth played out off camera. I wasn't living with a wife, I was living with a method actor. So, I called a guy I knew through my brother, a quiet, meticulous investigator who usually worked corporate fraud cases. He wasn't cheap, but he was surgical. I handed him the flash drive, the names, the travel receipts, and I asked him one thing, tell me what I missed. 2 weeks later, he came back with a sealed folder, heavy, organized, time-stamped. And what I found inside was worse than anything I'd imagined. The first section detailed a weekend trip to San Diego. She said it was for a corporate retreat. What it actually was, according to GPS logs, hotel camera footage, and Uber receipts, was a weekend with a man named Marcus. Not Aaron, not Darren. A new player, one I didn't even know existed. They didn't even stay at the hotel where the retreat was taking place. They booked a beachfront Airbnb. There were photos, receipts, a couple's massage scheduled under a fake last name, candlelit dinners, a private chef. All of it paid for with a separate card under her maiden name. The investigator even caught a moment on video where she FaceTimed me, sitting on the deck of that Airbnb, and told me she just stepped away from the seminar for a minute. Behind her, blurred but unmistakable, Marcus walked by shirtless. She panned the camera away too fast for me to catch it at the time. But it was there. Another section detailed 2 trips to New York supposedly for quarterly reviews, except she never attended. Instead, she met with an older man, a CEO she had met at a tech convention. He paid for her flight, put her in a suite, bought her jewelry. The investigator had receipts from the hotel concierge and even a photo of her checking out with a large Chanel bag. It was methodical, cold, efficient. The final blow came in the form of a single USB drive clipped to the inside of the report. I plugged it into my laptop and found folders of security footage, audio clips, even screenshots of hidden social media accounts. One of the videos was from a lounge bar not far from our neighborhood. She was sitting with Rachel and 2 other women I didn't recognize. They were laughing, passing a phone around. One of them was showing a picture of a man, her husband I assume, and they were mocking his texts. My wife chimed in, mine thinks I'm still at Pilates. Meanwhile, I'm 2 martinis in and planning my next conference. They all laughed. The betrayal wasn't just intimate. It was communal, celebrated. I sat there for over an hour. I watched everything. I listened to everything. I took it all in. And for the first time, I felt absolutely nothing. Not because I didn't care, but because there was simply nothing left for her to ruin. She hadn't broken my heart. She had emptied it quietly over time, with every lie she coated in lipstick. I emailed my lawyer that night, told him we weren't going to be negotiating. We were going to be removing her. No spousal support, no mediation. I had hard proof of calculated, repeated infidelity, financial misrepresentation, and moral damage. In the state we lived in, that meant I didn't owe her a single cent. The next day, I requested a full financial audit. Turns out, she'd been diverting small amounts of money into an online savings account I never knew existed. Little by little, leakage, my accountant called it. Over 3 years, it added up to over $42,000. That's what she was going to use to start over, her getaway fund. And guess what? It was in my name because she set it up before she changed her last name after our wedding. Legally, it was still mine. So I drained it, every penny. She sent me a text the same night. Where did the savings go? I didn't answer. Instead, I took a photo of the investigator's report laid out on my kitchen table and sent it back. No words, no explanation, just the truth, finally staring her in the face. The next morning, she showed up to my lawyer's office. Alone, no makeup, hair tied back. She signed everything, not because she wanted to, but because she knew it was over. She hadn't just lost her husband. She lost herself. After she signed the documents, she didn't say anything. No angry outburst, no tearful speech, just a quiet nod, eyes lowered. Then she walked out of the office like a stranger leaving a courtroom. That's what she had become to me, a witness to her own downfall. I watched from across the street as she sat in her car for nearly 15 minutes, frozen, staring at the steering wheel like she didn't know where to go. I could have walked away, but I didn't. I wanted to see how a life built on deception collapses when the foundation crumbles. That week, it happened piece by piece. First, I got a call from her former employer, the head of corporate ethics. They needed clarification on some of the dates and receipts I had submitted. Apparently, they had opened an internal investigation into misconduct involving corporate funds and personal relationships. It turned out that 2 of the men she'd slept with were part of vendor companies, which made the entire company vulnerable to ethics violations. One of them, the tech CEO, had already denied knowing she was married. He sent a formal statement saying he felt manipulated. Another one, the man from New York, filed a formal harassment complaint. What a twist. The woman who danced between beds had now been labeled a liability, professionally and legally. They offered her an option: resign quietly or face public termination and lose her severance. She resigned. Then came the friends. Her old gym buddy posted a vague but brutal message online. Some people pretend to be independent queens but can't breathe unless they're lying to 5 men at once. Good luck out there, sweetheart. Underneath it, someone commented with my wife's initials. Then someone else dropped a screenshot of her laughing in that bar, the one from the investigator's video. It spread quickly. In less than 48 hours, every woman in her curated social circle was either blocking her, unfollowing, or worse, posting sarcastic, supportive messages with captions like, "We all make mistakes, but girl, damn." She texted me once, just one word, "Why?" And I replied, "You handed me the match." I just stopped pretending the house wasn't already on fire. Then came the call I didn't expect. Her mother. This woman had always adored me. For years, she said I was the only stable thing in her daughter's life. And now she sounded more heartbroken than angry. "I don't know what happened to her," she said. "I raised her better than this. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this." I didn't answer. I just sat there staring at the ceiling, realizing how much damage one person's selfishness can cause across families, reputations, careers. And then came the real twist. Nick, Rachel's now estranged husband, called me again. This time, he wasn't drinking. He wasn't calm. He was boiling. "She's suing me," he said. "Rachel. She's trying to get alimony after all this." "You serious?" I asked. "Dead serious. She says the exposure damaged her professional standing." I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I really laughed. "Let me guess," I said. "She forgot the part where she helped your wife cheat on you?" He sighed. "Yep. Apparently that wasn't on the record. But I had a solution." The investigator had gathered screenshots from the escape room group chat, including Rachel planning alibis, coordinating cover stories, even mocking Nick in real time as she watched him make dinner for their anniversary while she was texting another man under the table. So I sent Nick everything. 10 minutes later, he replied, "Brother, you just saved me tens of thousands of dollars. I owe you a drink. Hell, I owe you a vacation. I didn't want revenge, but I won't lie. Seeing truth wipe away the masks they wore, that was justice." By the end of the month, the ripple effect had touched every corner of her life. Her career, dead. Her reputation, gone. Her friendships, scorched. The money she stashed away to run, legally reclaimed. And as for me, I had started rebuilding. A new apartment, quiet, clean, no ghosts in the walls. I left the old house to her, not out of pity, but because I didn't want to spend one more night under a roof built on lies. I didn't date. I didn't rush into healing. I just breathed. Took time to remember what it felt like to live without watching my back, without second-guessing every smile, every late night, every lipstick smudge that didn't belong. And the best part? I never raised my voice. I never stooped to her level. I let the truth do the talking. She thought she could burn me down and dance in the ashes. Instead, she watched me walk out of the fire and leave her to live in the smoke. 6 months later, I ran into her by accident. I didn't even recognize her at first. She was sitting alone outside a coffee shop, head down, tapping something into her phone. The light in her eyes was gone. The sharp confidence she used to carry like perfume had evaporated. She looked small. She saw me before I saw her. Our eyes met for a second, and I could see the panic rise in her chest. She stood up quickly like she was going to come over, maybe to apologize, maybe to reconnect, maybe just to explain. But I didn't stop. I kept walking. In that moment, that exact choice not to engage, not to entertain, not to reopen a door she had burned to the ground, that was the moment I truly felt free. I didn't need her apology. I didn't want closure because I already had it. See, healing doesn't always come with grand gestures or perfect endings. Sometimes it's quiet. It's walking past the person who broke you and feeling nothing but peace. Not hate, not regret, just peace. After she left, I started doing things for me. I got back into hiking, something I hadn't done in years because she always complained about the bugs. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen since college. I even adopted a rescue dog named Finn, who somehow managed to fill the empty parts of the apartment without saying a word. Work got better, too. I was more focused, more creative. I no longer carried the weight of pretending everything was okay at home. I slept better. I smiled more. I stopped second-guessing myself. One night, I sat on the balcony of my new place, glass of bourbon in hand, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, and I realized something. She didn't break me. She revealed me, revealed the strength I forgot I had, the instincts I'd buried, the voice I hadn't listened to in years. She tore off the mask. And for once, I wasn't afraid of what was underneath. I had faced the worst version of love, the version that manipulates, lies, and devours, and I walked out of it, not bitter, not broken, but rebuilt. They say betrayal changes you. They're right, it does. But what you do with that change, that's up to you. I chose to live better. She chose to lie. And now she lives in the ruins of her own creation. I live in truth, and I've never felt more alive.